So I think you've watched the last clip about an activity that was taking place at the Kenya School of Government. This was a 4-day workshop that was held at that involved the criminal justice sector actors, both state and non-state actors. They were here to discuss electoral justice, and of course, in light of the upcoming elections, the drums are beating louder. The fever pitch is high. Everybody is emotional, I think, if you are. And everybody wants to know how these elections will take place. But most importantly, we want to know how ready the criminal justice sector actors are. I keep missing that word. But both state and non-state actors were present, and it was an interesting 4-day event. So on the show today, and we are also live at Kenya School of Government. So on the show today, I have 3 very important ladies, experts, who are going to introduce themselves and tell us why they were here, why they are here, and what they have learned, key outcomes, and especially how they're going to work together going forward. So I'll start from my extreme. Karibu sana to the show, and please tell us your name, where you work, and then you can get on from there.
Thank you, Anita. My name is Lillian Billow. I work at Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. I was part of the training as a stakeholder with the Office of Director of Public Prosecution. And if I may answer your question, on one of the highlights during the training was when we were taken through law and technology. Because as an advocate of the High Court of Kenya, most advocates, we never focus more on technology, we focus more on the legal arguments. But this training was so informative to me, especially on the impact of technology in our election and the way we as actors in the election 2022, we are supposed to work together, sort of synergize in terms of protection and promotion of human rights, having a human rights-based approach when it comes to election. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Just before you give the mic, is this KNHCR, is it a government body? Is it I think there are 2 that normally confuse us.
This is the government institution. Okay. Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, KNHCR. It's a government institution that is under Article 59 of the Constitution of Kenya. It's a constitutional commission that is mandated to promote and protect human rights in Kenya. And it does this through acting as a watchdog, that is through promotion, and also giving advisories, and also having interventions such as offering legal redress through the protection mandate. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. We normally confuse the 2.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Pastor Mike, I think we'll now come up with a song of Pastor Mike. Please introduce yourself and tell us where you come, what you do.
Good morning. My name is Diana Watila. I am an advocate. I work at the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. IPOA. Independent Policing Oversight Authority is what you'd call a civilian oversight authority that looks at the work of the police with an aim of ensuring that there is access to justice for people with complaints against the police, but also our key role is to ensure that the police are professional and adhere to human rights. I work with the complaints department.
Okay. Then, so IPOA is not a government body?
IPOA is a government body. We are established under IPOA Act, and we give life to Article 244 of the Constitution of Kenya. So we are public servants.
Okay. So why did you say a civilian organization?
A civilian oversight.
Oversight.
Civilian oversight.
Okay.
So that is a very interesting question. You see, within the police, they have a command structure and they have internal disciplinary mechanisms. And one of the bodies you saw here was the Internal Affairs Unit, and they look at the internal disciplinary issues. Okay. But now, outcome of 2007-2008 election violence, one of the key issues identified was there was over excessive use of force by the police. And they felt that with that, for accountability, they needed people who are not part of the command structure to look into the issues. Okay. And that is why I say it is a civilian oversight authority. We are not police officers, but we work for the government.
You work for the government. Okay, interesting. I think it was also my first time to learn about that other organization, AIA?
Internal Affairs Unit.
Yes. Yes, it was my first time to hear about them. I think I always knew about IPOA. and always thought IPOA was part of the police.
No, we are not part of the police. We are not in the command structure. In fact, we have a board. The board, the board has a term of 6 years.
Okay.
We have a CEO, and then we have directorates. We have the Directorate of Complaints and Legal. We have the Directorate of Investigations. We have the Directorate of Inspection, Research, and Monitoring, among other departments that also are crucial to our work. That is like the corporate services and procurement and the rest.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Karibu to the show.
Thank you.
So here we discuss a lot about the law, but for the benefit of the common mwananchi. So I'm glad you're all lawyers. Maybe Stella should first of all introduce herself before we continue. Stella is not new to the show, but for the sake of those who've not met her before.
Good morning. My name is Stella Oyagi, Prosecution Counsel at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, specifically at the Hate Speech and Election Justice Division.
Yeah.
We are the hosts of this just concluded workshop.
Okay.
Yes.
So just for the sake of us who are not lawyers, what is electoral justice?
Electoral justice encompasses proper investigations, monitoring of the conduct of the election activities from the time the election period is gazetted by IEBC, what happens during that period, any offenses that may occur during that period. The office directs the investigative bodies to investigate the cases. We ensure that the witnesses are safe. We ensure that the evidence collected is in safe custody. And if there is sufficient evidence, we take the case to court. We charge the perpetrators in court and we prosecute the cases to its conclusion.
Are we hoping that these elections will be different because you have this compendium? How was it before? How was last elections as compared to what you expect of this?
In the previous elections, we did not have a guide that will guide prosecutors on what to look out for in election offenses. But from this one, we've already launched the compendium, which encompasses the various offenses, like a summary. It's a quick reference guide of the offenses that occur, what to look out for in terms of evidence, and the evidence required in order to secure a conviction. Okay. And also, we've been able to encompass all the relevant stakeholders in the election cycle, election process. In the previous election, we never had such a workshop where we'll bring all the stakeholders together and train them on what to look out for and actually empower them and equip them to handle elections on the ground in their various capacities. But from this workshop, this is a start of many more to come on what the office will be working on with the relevant stakeholders in terms of empowering the relevant stakeholders on their various roles and how we can support each other through the different institutions in order to ensure that the elections are fair and peaceful.
Okay.
Yes.
Why are you using such a difficult word, compendium? What's the synonym for compendium?
Compendium is a compilation. Yes, a compilation of various documents put together in summary or in short form. If you look at the compendium, it is a summary of all the laws relating to elections and hate speech, the offenses, the rapid reference guides, the elements of the offenses, just in a booklet, such that if a prosecutor is given that booklet, even in the morning you are making the decision to charge, it is easy for you to flip through and identify what does this offense entail. Is it captured well in the evidence that I have before we make the decision to prosecute? Other than going to the entire grey book to look at which is the section, which is the relevant statute. Yes.
So you've summarized.
It is summarized.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So maybe Dana, tell us why did IPOA participate in this workshop?
Yes. Elections are normally a peaceful mechanism for transfer of power. That's the ideal situation.
I was just about to say it's ideal.
But over the few election cycles, we have seen that elections are becoming more of a do or die affair. So people no longer rely on who's most popular. It's who you're connected to and everything. As a result of that, it's brought a lot of electoral-related violence. Basically, elections is used to manipulate the outcome of the polls. The violence is used to manipulate the outcomes of the polls. It could be for various reasons. Number one, political exclusion. Yeah. You make it so violent that there are certain groups that do not want to vie. Also, another thing, it disenfranchises voters. For example, I'm in an area where we are all tomatoes. Most of us are tomatoes. Among us, there are potatoes. And there are two candidates, tomato and potato. So in that area, you find that in one area where everyone is almost pro-tomato, there are few potatoes that voted. So what people will do, they'll go to every potato home saying it must be one of you, either, and chase them away. So the next cycle, what happens? Everyone will vote for us tomatoes, you see. So it becomes like a threat. Also, when people don't trust the outcome of the elections, we get violence. And once we get violence, we have to have ways of quelling that violence. And that's when you'll hear excesses from security, security forces. People have not followed the rules of use of force. There's problems with collecting evidence, and also that affects prosecution. So now for IPOA, we felt it would be very important to come and have discussions to see that electoral violence has come, it's becoming normalized, but what are the strategies that we can do to turn back, to remove that normalization? And what is our role as duty bearers in this function? And because there are people we normally work around, it's a very nice forum to get to know each other, to get to know contacts, and also sharing of best practices. And that is why we are here, to share our experience, but also to learn.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just aside, I digress a bit. Why don't you just say election what? Justice? Why do you say electoral?
I think it's just synonymous.
It just occurred to me that it could actually just be election, because I'm finding this word electoral quite a mouthful.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And you see, the thing is, we always say that in every place, how you speak is determined by the other language you speak at home. And so I would say it and you'd say that, but basically, as long as the message gets across, we are really here to talk about elections justice, because after the violence, we are seeing cases where people are not receiving justice. So you'll find that years later, that there are no convictions, there are no completed investigations. People have not received compensation. So the two are really linked. Yeah.
All right. Lillian, why did you get involved with this whole training and hold this launch and everything?
Okay, Anita, thank you for your question, but perhaps maybe I can just add on something. Why electoral and not election?
Oh, okay.
Because electoral, it now brings the vision of a process, where it is not just the election day.
Okay.
It is the process right from pre-election, during election, and post-election.
All right.
Yeah, so that is my understanding on why we insist on electoral justice. And if I take you back to 2017, the Honorable Chief Justice Maraga, during the Supreme Court petition, he indicated that election is a process. And that is where now we get the electoral justice, not election justice. Yeah.
But don't worry, you don't have to repeat.
The whole banner.
Yes. Yes. Now.
No, I struggle with this one a lot. Electoral. I struggle with it a lot. But I think you live and learn every day. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I never thought of it that way.
Yes.
But we still look at elections.
Yes.
we'd still think, I mean, the citizens, we citizens, think about elections as that one day.
Yes.
So now you're trying to tell us we need to look at it wholesomely.
It's an activity that is a process, right from voter registration, the voter education, the nomination exercise that you're seeing currently happening, the campaign period, during the election and after the election, because we have we have some things that happen after election.
Will that now maybe make it a better process, a better experience? Because now I don't know, maybe from personal experience, it scares me that we are going into an election period because you just don't know, especially with the things we've watched on TV recently. So will calling this thing an electoral process make it easier for the citizens to understand that it's not a do or die? No? Well, I'm trying to overthink it. Anyway, Lillian, you're telling us, why are you involved in this process?
Election, it's a very key element in our democracy. And as Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, mandated to promote and protect human rights in Kenya, I am here because part of it is we have KNCHR has been monitoring election for every electoral period. We have been monitoring elections and coming up with reports. So I am here because we have an election monitoring strategy where part of our strategy is partnership. And partnership includes stakeholders training, like the one that the ODPP has organized, consultative forums. So I am here as part of actors in our election system, and also it's also part of the actors in our criminal justice system. We all want to understand how prepared is the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution when it comes to election. I will also share my experience as Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. How prepared are we? What are we implementing for this coming general election? So that's why I'm here.
How prepared are you as KNCHR?
Yeah, we have launched our election strategy. Actually, we launched it 15th December 2020,
last year?
2021. Yeah, and we have put in measures to implement our election monitoring strategy. We have done a hotspot mapping. We are that is now looking at the current temperatures in the country. We are able to map certain areas of the country as hotspots. We have done spot checks where now we visit different actors in the election. For example, the IBC. We visit the police station, the different hospitals in the county level for us to understand their level of preparedness. We have also recruited and train our election monitors who we have deployed in different regions across the country. For their work, will be now sending us reports, gathering whatever is happening so that they can now send the reports in the election monitoring system. We have an election hub that consists of 6 data analysts, and we also have representatives from different departments of the commission, and their work really is to validate these reports from our election monitors, and also now to view if these reports actually have attained the evidentiary threshold, because as a commission we are so key on credibility of our reporting. We are also doing consultative forums with different stakeholders who have interest in the election. And we're also doing different trainings, for example, training the police on the use of force and firearm, and also ensuring that they incorporate a human rights-based approach, even as they offer security for the coming general elections. We have a toll-free number that you can reach the commission. You can call anytime and launch your complaint, and we'll have officers who will be deployed to investigate the same. So really I can say that we already started the process. We are monitoring the nomination. We have also been monitoring the illegal campaigns, and I'm calling them illegal because we know that the IBC has a calendar a calendar of activities, and it is not yet official campaign period. So whatever has been happening across the country is illegal campaigns, and then we have been seeing violations that are happening in these illegal campaigns. So as KNCHR, we are monitoring that. We're acting as a watchdog. We are monitoring, and we'll be doing reports and doing advisories on the same.
Just a question. Where do you place a citizen in this strategy? Do you have the citizen in this strategy that you launched?
Yes, because we have it is citizen oriented, because you see the main beneficiaries of any electoral process is the citizen, because the political rights, the constitutional political rights, are supposed to be enjoyed by every citizen. So even in protection of these constitutional rights, that is Article 38 of the Constitution of Kenya, we need to have a citizen oriented strategy. That's why we have been actually doing civic education. We are working with different human rights defenders in different parts of the country. Also, and the citizens are allowed to launch complaint with the commission using our toll-free numbers. The monitors we have deployed are working with citizens at the grassroots so that they can be able now to monitor whatever the political activities are in those areas and send us reports for our action.
What sort of reports do you like? If I'm to call your toll number, what should you be expecting to hear from me as a citizen?
Any violation, any reports, any violation, it's us. It is now in our discretion now to sit down, the people at the election hub, it now to sit down and now decide, for example, if it's a report that it's not within our mandate. For example, it is in the mandate of IPOA, who are, by the way, our partners. We are going to refer that complaint to IPOA. If maybe FIDA can give a better redress to that complaint, we'll forward to FIDA Kenya, who are also our partners in this. So we have actually partnered with different organizations so that we can be able to refer complaints that maybe come to our attention and they are not within the constitution, the commission's mandate.
Yeah. Pardon me for asking, because we are talking to citizens like me who are not lawyers.
Yes.
And so I'd imagine what would make me call your toll number and not call the police hotline?
Yes. Like number one, when you call us, you are assured of confidentiality.
Okay.
Yes. And you are assured that your complaint is going to be acted upon because we are a government agency. It's going to be acted upon, and you're not supposed to pay anything for launching that complaint, neither for follow-up. The commission, once you launch a complaint with the commission, we have a follow-up mechanism because we have a complaint department, and we also have the election, the hub, that is also has investigators who will be dispatched to do investigation and to gather more evidence on your complaint.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Stella, in the scheme of things, the bigger scheme of things, where does this whole process fall in? Because we talk about the criminal justice system has investigators, has prosecution, has adjudication, and of course the correction services. So where does such a function happen? Do they still take the files to the police, then they come to you, or can you get the files straight from KNHCR to you to prosecute?
I would imagine once they receive a complaint, they will need to communicate to the relevant investigative body. If it's something that requires investigations, they can communicate to the investigating officers and even to our office. If we receive such a complaint, we will direct the investigating agencies to investigate and submit the file for our further directions. And then we take it up from there. If it is related to elections and election-related offenses, then we proceed to charge if there's sufficient evidence.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And that is why we've involved all the stakeholders, because they are key in this election process, not just one aspect of the ODPP.
Lillian seems to have something to add.
Yes. I wanted to add on, not that we don't work with the police, because even when we get these complaints or when we get this information from our monitors, number one is a person seated at the hub. I will call this monitor and inquire, was it reported to the police station? Where is the level of investigation? Have people been arraigned in court? So we're going to follow up on the process so that we can know if there are any gaps, any human rights gaps that the commission can intervene, but they have to launch the complaints at the police station. Yeah, so we work closely with the police because you see, number one, if there's any criminal allegation, the first point of reporting is a police station. So we have to, as a commission, we have to get evidence in terms of the OB number, and also to know how far the investigations, are there any arrests, is the matter in court? Yeah, so that now we can know where to intervene.
Okay.
Yeah.
Diana?
Yes, I would like to clarify a few things. And we are all actors in the criminal justice system, and we all have a very special role that supports and complement each other. The initial role of the police is the maintenance of peace and security and prevention of crime and disorder. So that even if IPOA and Kenya National exist, the role primarily remains with them. And it's a constitutional mandate. So if it falls within that ambit, it has to be reported to the police. However, we engage in what we call a referral mechanism. So, meaning, if you walk to Kenya National, they'll still forward you to police.
Okay.
Yeah, they will refer.
Yeah, that's important.
And they
to
will
know.
get a contact a person to assist.
Okay.
If it's a case involving police, maybe it was a serious injury or a death, the first place to come would be IPOA. But not only come to IPOA, there'll be need for what you'd call medical legal documentation. So if you're injured, you have to go to, the first thing is your safety.
Yeah.
So you go to the hospital. At times I find someone coming and they're still bleeding, and I would think, no, the first thing is first aid, get to the hospital. After you get to the hospital, you'll receive treatment. And then you can come and lodge your complaint, but you don't have to come directly. Yes?
Yeah.
You can walk in to our head office or in any of our regional offices based in Meru, Nyeri, Nakuru, Kisumu, Kakamega, Eldoret. But you can also call our toll-free number that is 1559.
Okay.
When you call that toll-free number, you'll be assisted. You can also send a letter, and we'll be sharing with you the information.
Okay.
You can write a letter. You can send an email. You can send someone to complain on your behalf. You can even go to a CBO, a community-based organization, a paralegal. You've heard her mentioning that they have monitors on the ground.
Yeah.
People can complain on your behalf. However, the role of the police remains maintenance of peace
And security.
and prevention of crime and disorder.
Okay.
So we have not come to push them out of their role, but rather support, complement, ensure that there's professionalism, ensure that there's respect for human rights, and also ensure that there's independent investigations. And that is where we have to work holistically to get together.
Okay. So what is the expectation of the police force during this coming elections?
Yes. All police officers, my expectation is that their role is to uphold peace. But by upholding peace, it has to be done with the cooperation of the people, and that can only be gotten by having community dialogue. So police have the important role of protecting us, and we need them to be facilitated, but it has to be with respect of human rights. So meaning that they do not use force arbitrarily. There's something we call continuum of use of force. First, physical presence, verbal warning, you attempt compliance techniques, when you blockade people and things like that. After that, you move on to, persuasion. Then maybe there's something called contact control, where they try to push you off, and then they can use force. But lethal force comes late when you've tried everything, but you're seeing that you will not be able to achieve anything. That's the only time use of force is expected.
Yeah.
We also expect that the leadership will exercise command and control over their officers, which includes they should ensure their officers do not use force unlawfully. They should also do both covert and overt investigations.
What does that mean?
Meaning that this is election period. There are certain signs that may show that there's problems.
Yeah.
And we during the discussion, we said mapping of hotspots. That's also a role of the police. For example, if there are certain behaviors that you're seeing, if there are criminal gangs that are appearing, and if there are always fights and things like that, those are the things that they need to do intelligence so that they are able to properly intervene. Also, one of the things we are expecting is for the police to be trained on the use of force, but also for them to go to the community and talk to the community about their roles. We already have existing frameworks such as the Nyumba Kumi and community policing. So that would be good to find out what's happening in the community, how can we support the community. What we are also expecting the police to look at the different scenarios. If there is peace, how will they behave? If there's conflict, how will they behave? But the strategies should be crafted in such a way to avoid the need to use lethal force. And we would want accountability, and we would want transparency, and would also be very happy with them if we're able to coordinate and cooperate, because the role of IPOA is not punitive in nature, but we are here to help enhance professionalism and respect for human rights within the National Police Service.
Okay, I think today when we went live, I think it was today, somebody asked what happened, and I think it was a policeman actually. He asked what happens when you are out there, you're trying to quell a riot or some disturbance, and the civilian comes so hard at you. Are you not supposed to use force as well?
That's an interesting question, and that's why we are saying we need to train. They need the training. They need to be told when it's right to use a weapon, when you cannot, because use of force, you can't really now know how the matter will escalate.
Yeah.
So if you put a stringent, it just comes a training mentorship. This is when you should use force. But they need to be guided by this. Is it proportional to the objective you want to achieve? Yes.
Yeah.
So if you see that, you look at proportionality and see how much force do I need here? Do I just need to shout and say, go away? Do I need to show myself? Yeah?
Yeah.
You ask yourself, is it legal? At this point, am I allowed to use my weapon?
But at that time, you're so angry. Do you have time to think like that?
And that is why I am saying, you see, police officers are part of the community.
Yeah.
But they're not the ordinary ones. They have been chosen. We've chosen them to take a specific role in security. So there are certain obligations that they have. And they have training. Not everyone just picks up a gun. Yes, and I would advise the policeman, if he's angry, I think now that's not a proper time to, I mean, because your mind must be clear. So it has to be something that is accountable.
Yeah.
What you document the weapon, what's the ammunition, why did you fire, what was the outcome of the investigation, and the information is also shared. But the most thing is it necessary? If someone is probably insulting you, I know it's very tense, but would it be necessary to use force at that time? That is why I'm saying different situations need different scenarios, and that is why they are trained and they have open discussions on the same. So I cannot come and tell you, you see, for IPOA, we come in when there is illegal use of force.
Yeah.
The police have the mandate to use force, but there are also certain rules that bind them. So, I can't stand next to him and say, stop. Are we meeting? It doesn't work like that. It unravels too fast.
Yeah.
But when there's unlawful use of force, they will call us and say, can you come and review and see that there's unlawful use of force.
Yeah.
But the person who is supposed to now support the officers are their commanders, because they exercise command and control, and they should be able to provide advice and mentorship and support to the officers on the ground, so that they'll be able to know when is it lawful to use force, when is it unlawful, is the use of force justified, and we just follow the evidence.
Yeah.
We follow the evidence.
Okay. So I want to draw into a different, just slightly digress again. When we talk about the police force, a lot of times... Service. Oh, why not force?
That's
It's
a very
service.
good question. It was the police force, but then we've transformed and now we don't use force.
It's service.
Now the police force goes under service. That's why they are called the National Police Service.
Ah.
It's the transformation from
Okay.
force
To
to serve
All
the
right.
people.
Oh, quite interesting. I never thought of it that way. So that's NPS.
That is NPS.
Okay. So street banter is police have been afflicted a lot by mental health issues. Is it something within what IPOA does when they deal with the police service? Do you have programs that help them deal with such issues?
Okay. Well, we have the National Police Service Commission, we have IPOA, and basically our roles, as I said, is to enhance professionalism
Yes.
within the National Police Service, which means also looking at what are the systemic issues and coming up with interventions. And as I mentioned, we have what we call our inspections, research and monitoring department, where they inspect police premises, and including the homes, the working conditions of the police. We also have a psychosocial support unit that now can advise and help police officers who may need counseling.
Yeah.
And then also when it comes to aspects of domestic issues and domestic violence, those are things that can be reported to us, and based on our review, we are able to help escalate to the relevant agencies.
Okay.
We are also able to engage with the leadership and also the members of the National Police Service to find out how best to assist.
Okay.
Other ways that we help, and I think it contributes to improved mental health, is intervening in matters where a police officer may think that he's not been treated fairly. Maybe there's discrimination, there's harassment. We step in and investigate issues of sexual harassment, and it doesn't mean that we are either protecting women or men. It can fall either way.
Either way, yeah.
Yes. So the mental health issues is something very serious, and it needs a comprehensive approach.
Yeah.
Even ODPP has a role, IPOA has a role, Kenya National has a role, and every one of us can contribute to improving the working, living conditions and mental health of the members of the National Police Service.
Okay. Stella, let's not forget you. You are the host.
Yeah.
So what was the expected outcome, and have you achieved what you wanted to achieve after the 4 days?
The intended outcome was to bring together the different stakeholders and share ideas and thoughts on best practices on these upcoming elections. And also from the workshop itself, we've been able to have speakers from different countries.
Yeah. Did you learn anything special from Ghana, for example?
Yes, they prosecute all offenses, all electoral offenses. At least they have the experience, and they have gone digital in terms of transmission of elections. So yes, there are a few things that I picked from Ghana and the USA experience on what maybe we can incorporate in Kenya as we grow in the electoral process. And it is good that we had this meeting of minds so that we share on the experiences and the steps that each institution has taken so far in terms of preparation, and so that we have a common mind going forward. What next for all of us, because we have one agenda. Yes, we have different mandates as
But you
different
have one
offices,
agenda.
but yes, we have the same, we have one goal:
Okay.
fair elections, peaceful, fair elections. So it was very good, it was successful. And now from here, the next activity will probably be mobilizing the stakeholders from the counties to also have something similar now at the county level. See, these are county heads and regional heads of the ODPP and different representatives from the various institutions.
Yeah.
So if we take this same knowledge to the ground, it is easier so that we are all on the same page. What to look out for in terms of election offenses. Where do these civilians run to for assistance? And we've established a few, we've identified a few areas where we'll, like a way forward for all of us, where we can all collaborate. If KNHCR gets a report, there is a violation happening on the ground, they can easily alert the NPS in that area. If we'll also have our own call center. If we get something similar, a complaint, we can easily reach out to the NPS on the ground. It is easier for prosecutors because we work very closely with the National Police Service. So getting to communicate if any of this
work easy.
Yes, very easy.
Okay.
Yes, and there is also that follow-up aspect. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Lillian, you were very passionate about SGBV earlier. What are those different aspects? How does SGBV manifest during elections? Because our understanding of SGBV is just maybe domestic violence. But then what? SGBV. Yeah, because I think we've discussed in the show so many times. I'm assuming everybody knows. So it is sexual, gender-based violence. So how does it manifest during elections? Yeah. Is it just domestic violence? Are we going to see more of it? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, SGBV during election, I must say it has special ingredients. It's just not the normal sexual and gender-based violence that we witness every day. Yeah. Because this is sexual and gender-based violence, and for the purposes of the discussion, I'll just refer it to SGBV, that is used in the context of election. It's used as a tool to perpetrate electoral violence. And most of, like SGBV, we don't have it's not just purely women. We have men who suffer. Yeah. We have the intersex persons who also suffer. We also have women who suffer. So, but you look at the perpetrators of this sexual and gender-based violence, especially, and who it is perpetrated on. Most of the cases, it's actually the SIGs. The minorities.
What's SIG?
The special interest groups. That include the women, the older persons, the youth. The vulnerable, the minorities and the marginalized.
Yeah.
The minorities and the marginalized persons. Yeah. So when you look at the election, our election, perhaps the history of the election, they are the people who come out least to vote, but they are the most affected people when it comes to SGBV. Yeah. Yeah. So it's even as election actors, as criminal justice system actors, it is good we now change the way we look at SGBV when it comes to election, when it comes also to the protection of the integrity of the survivors, the way we get the data from them, the way they report to us, the follow-up that we do. Can we get fast adjudication of justice to them? Can we get closure? Can we offer psychosocial support to these survivors? So there's so much when it comes to SGBV that the state actors in elections are supposed to focus on, so that we can actually have an election. Yeah. Yes, have an election where we promote human rights, and SGBV is part of human rights. Okay.
Dana wants to say something. Okay.
Yeah. We have been observing the different election cycles, and during elections, there are certain things that happen that ordinarily would not happen every day. You'll find maybe they are burning houses, they are displacing people. Yeah. There's that heightened sense of tension. But there's also something happening that ordinarily would not happen in public, where people are being sexually violated and they are targeted as a result of the elections, maybe as a result of their gender or their perceived political affiliation. And that is why we'd say SGBV during elections needs to be looked at. It's because the reason. And they always say in most homes, the mother is the glue of the society. Yeah. So when you defile her, you break her. And you find that now it's targeted because they are looking like we are spoiling their women and things like that. Yeah. And then because it has happened in that context, and then a little bit about domestic violence, it's been reported in certain places where maybe your different communities and things like that. Yeah. Either people are chased away. Yeah. There might be simmering issues, you never know, but there are reported cases of separations and as a result, separations and violence.
Different ideologies.
So you have to identify. Is it rape? Is it sodomy? Is it defilement? Yes, the law, and I'm sure you've covered it in other things,
Yeah.
the law identifies them.
Yeah.
And then now the challenges that arise, it is very embarrassing. You know, you always tell people that even a married woman would not walk to the office and say, I had sex last night, would she?
No.
Have you heard anyone
Never.
saying?
Never.
And she's married.
Yeah.
In church, ring. Now, would you expect a woman who's been raped to wake up and say, I was raped?
No, rarely.
Yeah? So you have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
So what do we put? We need to put measures in place to ensure that violations do not happen.
Yeah.
And there's been a court ruling that says that police have the obligation to ensure security, to investigate all complaints that have been raised. Another thing is the medical legal aspect. Normally, there's something called the documentation of evidence. When that happens, which is unfortunate, but there's a certain way. For example, the clothes should not be washed. If
there are
it's
those things you don't,
underwear, and you would not take I wish I had a polythene bag. You can't put it in a polythene bag.
Where do you put it?
If you put it in a polythene bag, it'll get moisture, it'll contaminate. So you're supposed to look for an ordinary paper.
What?
And keep it in a bag.
Okay.
Also,
I've learned something.
yeah. So that happens, but now it's at a heightened state of
Okay.
tension.
Yeah.
Another thing that needs to happen is someone needs to seek medical attention as soon as possible. They say the 72-hour rule, but we are saying as soon as possible. But even if the 72 hours lapse, still go and seek for medical attention so that they are able to examine you and also take the proper medical interventions and document.
Okay.
Also, they need to report the matter to the police, and this is where organizations such as IPOA
Exist.
and Kenya National, at times someone might not be able to access, and we are able to now reach out and find a way how we can facilitate the same.
Okay.
And one thing I'll say, sexual violence, if it happens to you, do not be ashamed, step up, and all these things are always handled very confidentially. Your identity is not relieved, is not given out.
Yeah.
There are also laws that ensure that you, as a victim, are protected. My colleague will speak a bit on that and speak out. Even if time has passed, there are still ways of accessing justice, and it also helps interventions because if you say many women were raped but there are no reported cases, it is hard to hold people accountable.
Yeah.
But we acknowledge it's something private. Even a married woman would not come and tell people she had sex. So we can imagine how much difficulty it is. But reach out, and there are many resources that can be shared to see how you can be assisted.
Okay. Quickly, key learnings. Here you can say something, and then we wind up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, each, if not all, police stations have a gender desk where such offences of SGBV can be reported. And the police officers handling these cases are well trained to handle the victims of SGBV, children and both adults. And they are trained well on how to collect evidence and preserve even before the case is taken to court. Yes, so the issue of SGBV, especially during the election period, is well catered for in terms of the stakeholders who are involved in the investigations and treatment and even prosecution of those cases.
Is gender stereotyping a form of SGBV? When someone says you can't run here because you're a woman, is it?
Yes, it is. And it also falls under hate speech in a way.
All right.
When someone stands to address in a rally and you're insulted because of your gender, your appearance.
You're not married here.
You're not married, you're divorced, you're an intersex. Yes.
So we are winding up. I told you 1 hour ran so fast. I thought you had just started. Key learnings. What's your key takeout from this from this thing? What is that you're going home with that will help you manage, or rather deal with the coming elections better? How better equipped do you feel after this thing, after this workshop?
I feel my mind has been opened in knowing what these other institutions are doing and being able to incorporate that knowledge in what I'm doing.
Okay.
In terms of when I'm monitoring election activities, this is pre-election. We are now at pre-election of the election cycle. What are the offenses that I need to look out for? What are the elements? Who do I need to engage in analyzing these things that are happening so that we can compile a proper police file and get sufficient evidence when we decide to institute a criminal case.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I had it was a very educative experience. I was able to understand, because a lot of the work that we do ends up before the office of the ODPP.
Yeah.
So it taught me what complaints would fall under elections offenses, what are the timelines, how do you escalate it.
Yeah.
I also learned about the regional best practices and also the role of elections. And then I really enjoyed the simulation
by IBC?
By IBC, where they took us through the process, and were able to appreciate it was tedious because we were just doing a short run through, but it took so long, and we saw the complications and things like that. Yeah. But I was able to understand this is the role of the observer. This is why maybe the aspirant is allowed to go in front of the line. What happens when someone needs assistance in voting? What is the etiquette and protocol to follow when votes are counted? We also got the opportunity to give best practices, share best practices, and also learn. But the best thing is we managed to meet new friends, meet old friends, networking, and we feel that we need to have more like this because we're able to deal with certain bottlenecks, and we discovered that these bottlenecks don't have to be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lillian, best practices. Key learnings.
Yes. I was able to appreciate the role of different institutions when it comes to the election project. I was able to appreciate most what the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions are doing, especially to enhance and to ensure the integrity of the election project in terms of ensuring Kenya enjoys credible, free, and fair election. So as being here, I'm able to take home so much because we were able to get so much knowledge, especially in terms of elections and technology, in terms of the best practices, the launch of the compendium by the Office of Director of Public Prosecution. So it was eye-opening for me. And maybe before I end, if you allow me to read to the members of the public our toll-free number, so that in case they have any complaint, they can be able to reach Kenya National Commission on Human Rights for any violation, any human right violation, through our toll-free number, which is 0800 720 627. If I may repeat again, 0800 720 627. Thank you.
Toll number means they don't pay for that call.
Yeah, it's free.
It's free.
You just call. You can speak as much as you want.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll be given your time to explain your case, and it's free.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Can I give our toll-free
please do.
Okay. Thank you very much. If you need to lodge a complaint or follow up on your matter, we have a toll-free line, 1559, or you can send an email to complaints@ipoa.go.ke or info@ipoa.go.ke. You can also go to our website if you have access to internet, and you can lodge a complaint directly at our website. And we are hoping, and we are in the process of streamlining SMSing, and once we've finalized that functionality, you'll be able to receive SMSs. You can send and receive SMSs. Additionally, if you have any concerns with how your matter has been handled, or would need a status update or need interventions of IPOA, kindly call 1559 and our officers will be able to direct you to whichever office can assist you.
Stella, you have to close this. You're the host.
Our office does not have a toll-free number.
But there's a complaint here?
Oh yes, there's a complaints and compliments division,
Yeah.
which is very active. I'm sure members of the public know. If you have any issue following up on your case in any court station in the country, you forward your complaint via email or a letter to the office, and the complaints are part of the division of the office will follow up on the same.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. Thank you so much, ladies. I thought you had just started, honestly.
So did I.
Honestly, I thought you had just started. But so yeah, time flies. But I think I have learned something, and I hope someone else has learned. So I hope someone else has learned something from this discussion. And I think for me is that there are institutions in place. We just need to trust the process. And of course, that election is not a one-day affair. We need to treat it as a process. So all those things we do during and post, yes. And we have to be diligent and act peacefully, right? All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. We shall get back to you in your responses and the engagements you've had with us on the show. And thank you for keeping us company. I hope you learned something. I learned something. We learned something. I think I learned 2 or 3 things I thought I knew, but clearly I had to be taught. So like they also went through a process of relearning and learning, and is it relearning, learning and unlearning? So I hope you also are doing the same. Election, it's called an electoral process because electoral cycle, because it is a process. It never stops, yes. And I think we did very well here in Kenya, because as soon as we elect a president, we get on the next, we got in the next cycle, yeah? So yeah, thank you so much once again. I want to wish you a good Friday and of course a restful weekend, and let's catch up in the week to see what we have for you. If you have any questions, they have given their numbers, their contacts. Please just get in touch with them and they'll definitely get back to you. So thank you so much and God bless.